What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sports Psyched. This is episode 4. I'm excited to have a long overdue conversation with my boy, Michael Loveless. I've been trying to get him on for a minute, but he had to go have a whole baby and everything. So, life is lifing, but here we are now. So full disclosure, I've known Mike since the 6th grade. We were in choir together from 6th grade through freshman year of college. High school, we played football together and volleyball. He also played basketball. Then we went on to college, Missouri Valley College to be exact, to play football. I ended up transferring out after freshman year, but he stayed where he went on to also play volleyball. So Michael has a long list of accolades and accomplishments. He currently works as a physical education teacher for early elementary school. Okay. But high school, he was captain of the football team. Senior year, he was captain of the basketball team. And then were you captain of volleyball or not?
No, I'm not captain.
Okay, well, didn't do volleyball. But Missouri Valley, were you captain there and all?
No, I wouldn't.
But in Missouri Valley, he was third team all-conference running back. By the way, he was the only fullback to get all-conference. So really, that's the same thing as first team.
Thank you.
Like, when was the last time you saw a fullback on that list? And with that, he has a list of accomplishments, which I'll let you go over in terms of your work as an educator. Can you say what you've accomplished there?
Yeah, first of all, I love working with kids, so I don't do it for the accolades, even though I've gotten some throughout the years. I was able to get Teacher of the Year 2 times, one for Imagine Schools, and then I got Physical Education Teacher of the Year for the district for St. Louis Public Schools. I was able to get other awards like Golden Teacher, Apple Awards, and I don't really like going through my accomplishments because I feel like it's a lot of educators that really go out and do amazing things and work very hard, and they just don't get recognized. And for some reason,
I'm going to interrupt him so he can continue his list of accolades because, like you said, a lot of educators don't get the recognition that they deserve, so that's what we do right now. Please continue with the accolades, good sir. This is me recognizing you by having you recognize yourself.
I appreciate you. Through my through my accomplishments, I've been asked to do things like I have written the curriculum for UCity School Physical Education Department. I've been the chair of the Physical Education Department over UCity, things of that sort. So I've done a lot of things, and my main focus is building character in our kids and supplementing the parenthood that maybe isn't been. A lot of kids have great parents, so I'm not taking away from that. But every kid needs help. They need a village, and I just want to be a part of that village.
Okay. And so with that, let's kind of backtrack a little bit. Can you tell us about your background in sports? Like, where did you begin? What were the sports that you played, sports that you tried, that you liked, hated, whatnot, and just what really kind of got you involved in sports at an early age in the first place?
I have been fortunate to have an amazing big brother, and he is the one who really ignited. It's not him. He is the one who ignited the fire within me. I was very meek and mild as a child, and like I was introduced to football early on, didn't like it. And then my brother just really increased my confidence, and he was the one who drugged me along, and everyone knew my brother from around town. 6'3" guy, point guard, played basketball everywhere. We would walk into the gym, everyone knew him. And when it was time to pick teams, he would pick his little 5'10". I'm 5'10" now, barely 5'10". I might be 5'9", but don't tell anybody. So he would pull his little 5'10" brother and would join his team, and we'll be going against some of the best talent in St. Louis. And after going with him and playing against some of the best talents in St. Louis, I then had to go again and play against my own age. And so when I found that playing against people my own age was way easier, he actually created a beast within me. And that made me gain confidence and wanted to really compete. And so I went from basketball to football, and from football to volleyball. And I have a thing in my head where I am my competition. I don't really look at others. I look at me. And I want to thank, shout out to James Loveless III, a.k.a. Trey, for igniting the fire within me.
Okay. And so it sounds like you did some organized sports as well as just like playing in the neighborhood, I guess, or which one was it? We just say was your introduction to sports, like pick up stuff and then organize, or the other way around?
Being a product of St. Louis, you always start at pickup basketball. At somebody's hoop outside their house, playing in the street, waiting for cars to come by. That's what makes you, I say, legit, certified STL. We played tackle on concrete, where some of the cars played middle linebacker, parked cars played middle linebacker on accident. So when it came to actually playing with pads, it was easy. I was used to getting tackled without pads, and then the concrete being the other thing that you land on rather than grass. And so it all started unorganized, playing pickup ball. And I actually was a late bloomer. I didn't really start playing organized sports until late 8th grade year. I didn't play organized football, which I would deem the sport that I was best in, until sophomore year in high school.
Okay. What about organized basketball? Did you play that at all when you were younger, or like church leagues or anything like that?
Organized basketball, I played Hoop It Up. Shout out to all y'all who know what Hoop It Up is. St. Louis back in the day, playing basketball on the streets downtown. I played with my homeboy Jermaine Jones. That was like the first introduction to any kind of organized sport. And that was just for a weekend, even though we had practices, but we went and played Hoop It Up 3-on-3 basketball. And then I would say later on, 8th grade year, I got introduced to another team where I actually played, I rode the bench, but I played organized basketball for a JCC league all the way out in Chesterfield.
Okay. And so when you think about sports, like what would you say sports provided you, like, or what values did sport reinforce or maybe teach you? Both organized as well as just like, pick up kind of stuff that you would do when you were younger.
I'm so glad you asked that question, because I have a lot of very talented sisters and brothers. My oldest sister is a graphic designer, and she's been with her company for like over 20 years, very established, very known around the St. Louis area. My brother is a manager, and his art has been known all around St. Louis, very talented basketball player. My other sister is a chemical engineer, and her art, matter of fact, they just had a show, I think in North Grisham Hall, North City, and both of my sisters had an art show down there where they showed how talented they are. Me, I got none of that. And so I always wondered, I was like, well, God, I know you blessed me athletically, but what am I supposed to do with this? So you asked me, what does sports teach me? I found out after, I still consider myself an athlete, but I'm not at my peak anymore. And so I'm like, well, I see my athleticism kind of on the downward slope. God, I know you blessed me with athleticism, but what did you teach me through sports? Time management, work ethic, being able to communicate with just different groups of people. A lot of the things that I learned in sports bled over, me being my own competition, me working harder and not giving up, me being able to work through adversity and not give up on situations. It's taught me so much, even things that I don't even realize now. So sports has definitely bled over and blessed me in other aspects of my life.
Okay. So can you talk about, we'll kind of stick with a little bit earlier on, because and the last person I had a conversation with was Coach Mike Hastings of Maryville University, where he's the head volleyball coach, and we played volleyball, of course, with him in high school. And one of the things that him and I talked about the conversation was the fact that we had a very diverse volleyball team. And volleyball is one of those sports where even at the high school level, like honestly, the people that play, they kind of been playing already, have a little bit of money. They really don't look like you and I for the most part. It might be a little bit different now in the St. Louis area, but I doubt if it's that much different. And so can you just talk about what got you into volleyball and what made you play a sport that typically, people that play it, they come from a background of a lot of privilege because, they're playing more so club versus high school, because a lot of high schools didn't have it when we were in high school, and they still don't, although it is growing very, very rapidly. So what drew you to volleyball? What made you say, hey, I want to do this in high school? And then with that, can you talk about what made you say, hey, I'm going to do this in college too, on top of playing football?
Nice. I'm loving your questions. Shout out to church picnics, family reunions. That's my very first introduction to volleyball at all. I sucked then, but it was fun because I got to move around. And that's why I love being a PE teacher now, because movement is that's one of the things kids love, but I won't go off on a tangent. So church picnics is what got me introduced to it at first. When I went to high school, shout out to Coach Frankenfield, an amazing individual and an amazing coach. He came up to me and he was like, I need athletes. I'm coming for the football team, basketball team. I want you to go out for the basketball team and tell all your boys. So that's what I did. I went up for the volleyball team and I told all my boys, and we all came and we worked. You, Mason, Dez, Daniel Williams, Shaney Sody, the list goes on. It was just people that I played basketball with, from middle school, and we came up and we tried out for the team, and I'm so glad that he did that because, like I said, how sports has bled into other aspects of my life. I'm used to going and being uncomfortable in different rooms, and I know how to navigate until I find success because I did that because even though football was my first sport, volleyball very early was one of my more successful sports.
Okay. And then what made you say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and play in college?
Oh, and that's the dog in me. We talked about I'm my own competition. I was out and I was pretty successful in football starting off. And I went and saw some of the volleyball games. And when I went and saw some of the volleyball games, I was like, I'm better than some people that I see. I wouldn't say all of them. I'll say I'm better than some of them. And so I wanted to go and try out for the team. And I brought one of my friends with me. Shout out Mike Wilder. He came out and we both tried out for the team, another football player. And I ended up being fortunate enough where I went all the way up to varsity and we were able to travel. Like we went all around the nation. We were even able to go to the national championship tournament in, I think it was in California. I forgot what part of California.
Vegas.
No,
you're right. California, Berkeley.
Yeah, Berkeley. Yep.
Yeah.
That's where it was.
Okay. And tell everybody what position you play at a mean 5'7". You heard us watch Will Off earlier and be like, he's 5'7". I was like, but tell everybody what position you play, because I think they might be a wee bit shocked.
You would be surprised, but at my stature, I play middle hitter. And to tell you, there were people that played on their national team across seas, like for Serbia, and we had people that played for France. We had this one guy who made his national, he was like an Olympic standby, and he played libero, monster. And I was able to play with them. And the people who played with me, middle hitter, 6'5". One was 6'5", one was like 6'6". But God blessed me with bounce. And so I was able to rise to the occasion and hold it down playing middle hitter.
Okay. And for those of you that don't know anything about volleyball, middle hitter is, I would say, equivalent to being a center in basketball. Would you say that's accurate?
Definitely.
Okay. So, yeah, imagine somebody going up getting boards, a good 5'9", 5'10". 5'9". But just imagine that, right? And competitively getting boards. So, and so I appreciate you sharing that, because I think it is a sport that's growing a lot. It is becoming more diverse, and it's become, I think, pretty big in our community, in the Black community, because where I'm currently located, a little bit further south, there's a lot of people that are playing that you necessarily kind of wouldn't maybe expect to play, but they're enjoying it, and with more opportunities in college, I think that's something that can really help people, especially if they coming from a background where, first generation college student, or maybe they don't have the economic means where, hey, they're getting a partial scholarship or whatever it may be. And this taps into another question I'm going to kind of segue to, but for some folks, especially if maybe they're first generation, maybe they're not, it can be an avenue to provide resources on the college process because, some people have parents who did go to college, but maybe their route was different. They were a non-traditional student or something like that in some way. And so you get, from sports, you get access to information vicariously that can help a person kind of navigate that process a little bit easier, or even just put the idea in their mind of, hey, college is open to you regardless of what you might think yourself academically, economically, or whatever it may be. There's a path here, there's an opportunity for you to take advantage of if you want it. And so with that, I kind of want to segue, for you, how did sports help you with your path of going to college, if it helped you at all?
So I always like to say through testimonies, I'm a very spiritual person. And so when I talk about my testimony, it is to give other people the confidence to overcome what I've overcome. And I started out in elementary school with a learning disability. So I was one of the kids that had resource classes and struggled with the academic path starting out. I was able to wean myself off of needing so many resources and being able, through the amazing staff our teachers that I had along the way, part of the reason I became a teacher, to go through the academic process kind of alone. And I didn't see myself as a college graduate, let alone thriving in college early on. And when coaches started to reach out to me because of how good I was at sports in high school, that opened my eyes and allowed me that special opportunity to not only get my bachelor's, but to be able to get my master's. Yeah. And not only that, but to be like an All-American academically in college also. Shout out to all the teachers that I had. Love y'all.
And can you say a little bit more about that, the academic award you got when you graduated undergrad with your bachelor's?
Oh, I was able to get a distinguished Charles C. Bacon Award. I think that was the name of it. It was voted on by the students and voted on by the professors. They gave me an award for my service in the community and on campus. And what a blessing. I was able to do my student teaching at Marshall, Missouri, and through my amazing co-teacher, Valerie Remmer, she really gave me the reins of the class and let me just do my thing. And they got so much recognition that the TV news crew came in and they recorded me teaching the students. Like I was in a rural Marshall, Missouri, teaching my demographic how to step, how to do chants, and opening their eyes to what I knew from being a product of North City, St. Louis City. I forgot what we were.
Oh, I was going to say, there's also like the award that you got where it's like 1% of like all graduates that are student athletes even that get, or something like that, wasn't it, when you graduated?
When I graduated, magna cum laude?
Yeah, it was like that. And what else with that too? Because there was some like national award you got, or like it was like did you qualify for with that, if I remember correctly?
Man, I tell you what, 40 is knocking on the door. So if I don't remember all the awards that were given to me, because I try not to be, it's a lot of people that hold their awards and their accolades up and they want everyone to see them. I don't do it for that. I do it for the people that are around me. I do it because one of my gifts and one of the mantras that I say is, and I pray about, is for God to use me and everything within me to serve his people. And so that's what I'm focused on. And I'm not focused on what the world gives me, because it's really meaningless. The way I move is because I want to serve God's people.
Okay. Which I respect that. And like I said, teachers don't get enough recognition. So I think that's where it's kind of important. And with that too, it's like, we all have a background that can be maybe challenging in some way. And I think sometimes the awards can kind of highlight the perseverance aspect of it, like in that other people maybe saw, hey, this person's overcoming these things, and not only are like they're thriving and they're striving for more, and like they're making those accomplishments. And so it's kind of like the validation of what I'm doing is not necessarily correct, but it's like I'm on a path. And with that, it's like, maybe I'll keep doing these things. This can lead me to greatness. However, we define that as individuals. Maybe even other people define that. They may say, hey, what you're doing is great. And like, this is something I want you to have as a result of that. Mm-hmm. Now, we may not necessarily think it's great, and two things can be true. Other people can think something's great, and what we want in terms of our greatness could be more. And so I kind of put that into all in one. And so with that, can you talk about what the process was like for you in terms of like just being recruited and going to college and whatnot for football specifically?
Oh man, yeah, the process to going to the college I chose, Missouri Valley College. I had this one crazy recruiter. I forgot his name. I think it was something Harmon. He came, he saw film, he came to the school. I don't know if we worked out for them there or if he just talked to the coaches, but he was calling me nonstop, leaving voicemails on my phone. So I'll never forget this voicemail. He called and I didn't pick up. I think I was in class or voicemail at the time. I forgot how it was.
But he had no cell phone. He called his house phone.
Yeah, I'm like, but you could check your messages.
He had a ring like this.
You could check your messages. So I called, and he said, "When you go to sleep tonight, and you lay your head on the pillow, think Missouri Valley College, Missouri Valley College, Missouri Valley College." And I was like, this guy really, he was like, he would have been the best used car salesman known to man. And when we went to Missouri Valley College, he gave the greatest tour. And so it was kind of sold. I had other D1 colleges reach out to me, but the D1 colleges that reached out to me, they were more of come here and earn your scholarship through showing us your skills. I was confident in my skill set, but to be honest with you, I never was really in love with football. I was in love with movement. I was in love with competing. I was in love with sports. That's part of the reason I play volleyball also. And so going into college, I was like, I'm going with the guaranteed money. Another thing, Missouri Valley College had littler classes, and I knew I would thrive if I can have conversations with the teachers. And so I was looking at it knowing that being on the team and going into athletics was just going to be a snippet of the scope of my life, and actually going into the professional world after that would be the meat of my life. And so I wanted to go somewhere where I can thrive and get a good job. And so Missouri Valley College was like the best choice for me. And I love that I went there. And I said to the hilltops, hey, Missouri Valley College is a good place to go.
And then what was that transition like for you from high school to college?
Are you talking athletically, like competitive wise? Or are you talking about how I dealt with living and how I dealt with being away from home?
All the above?
All the above. Okay. When I got there, I redshirted my freshman year. I saw the competition. The competition was good, but I didn't shy away from it. I wanted to compete. I looked at certain people that were starting, and I thought I could be on par with them and one day pass them up. And so I was just ready for it. I was ready for the competition. And I end up my first couple of years not starting, and to the point where I just wanted to quit because I felt like I should start. Coaches came up to me and said, I think you should start, but I can't start you because this coach said this. Players came up to me and told me, I think you should start over them. And then the other player will come up to me and say, I think you should start over them. And so it was very disheartening thinking that I was good enough to at least get playing time where I was not seeing the field. And so that was definitely a struggle.
But you really were a safety at first.
Yes.
And then can you say a little bit about what helped you decide to stay on the team and what position you ended up switching to and who helped you with that?
Oh, thank you. Yes. It was, we went to play Lindenwood. Lindenwood is right outside St. Louis. And shout out to Parkway North and all my amazing coaches / teachers. They came and saw me play knowing that I was just on special teams. They still came out and saw me play. When I had a conversation with them afterwards, one of the coaches shared with me that they think I would thrive if I were to play offense, because that's one of the places where I got notoriety in high school. I thought I was too small to play fullback, and hey, I was right. I am too small, and I was too small to play fullback in college. But my coach was like, hey, I think you would be better there, so give it a thought. My thought process coming to the off season was, I'm done with football. But then that thought stayed in the back of my head. Hey, instead of just being done with football, because you liked it at Missouri Valley College, I had a great life outside of sports. I was like, give offense a try and do what Coach Parks said. Coach Parks is the one who told me. And so I went over and I tried football. I tried fullback during spring ball. The whole defense wanted my head, because the defense was like, oh, what? Oh, look at Love. Oh, what he think he doing? Love don't want of this. Hey, look at Love, man. He lined it up in the backfield. The very first snap I had, my assignment is to block, I think, an outside backer. On my way to block an outside backer, one of the defensive tackles missed their block. It's a defensive tackle coming downhill, me and the defensive tackle. Boom! I gave him all I got. I didn't put him on his butt, but that boy did one of these. And you heard the defense. They put him on skates. And you heard the defense talk about some, love. And I'm not a big trash talker. When I'm going up against and I'm really playing, I don't really talk trash. I let my play do the talking. I just adjust my pass and I just trot back to the huddle. After that, it was over. I was putting boys on their backs, putting boys on skates. And then it was my first time playing, so sometimes I would get the assignment wrong. But during film, coach would point that out and he would say, look at Loveless. Now he's doing the wrong thing completely. This is a pass play. And he's downfield going full speed. But look at him going full speed, knocking everybody out on my way. And so the coaches, they coached me up to do the right thing, but they saw my effort and they really got me to doing the right thing. And I'm so glad. Shout out to Coach Parks, who recently retired from Missouri Valley College, but from Parkway North, thanks. But he was one of the ones who got me to not quit.
You just gonna leave me out like that, too? I told you to play fullback as well.
You told me to play fullback, boy?
Man, I told you to play fullback.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, man, I'm like, Mike, man, fullback, dog. I do it.
Shout out to Dr. Drizzle, for those who know him personally. Dre went up and played at Mizzou, and he played running back at Mizzou. And we had conversations. He would hit me up, and he was like, Mike, you can really come down here and thrive. I think you would be good. And then I was like, I don't know. And he was like, nah, man, I think you really have it. I think you got what it takes. And so, hearing that from Dre and hearing that from Coach Parks, I was like, well, let's give this a try, because I know I'm a dog. So, hey, dogs going to do what dogs do. And I did. Appreciate you.
And I think one thing that worked out well, too, was that the offense we ran in high school was very similar in a lot of ways to what Moval did. I think it was Moval's offense was more expansive, but it was like they had a I think because it was their zone blocking scheme.
Yes.
But I think also they still did a lot of man blocking too, which for a fullback is kind of like, all right, man block, that's easy. It's like,
yes.
Point them out. Where they? There go Mike 52. All right, I know who I'm going for. All right, but even if you do a zone, it's kind of like, hey, I'm creating an alley. Like first person come across my face, or unless I have a specific assignment within that. And so I think, that's why I was just kind of like, I think those are things where it's kind of like, it's kind of weird where certain things you may not be cognizant of end up being like a factor and helping you on like your path that you wouldn't think about that you recognize later. It's like, I wasn't necessarily recruited for offense, so I'm not taking that into account. And it just so happened that it was a good chunk of like what we did in high school was a good chunk of what they were doing. And then from there, it's kind of thinking about like the fact of like maybe you are an undersized fullback, but that also created other opportunities for you to be used in ways that maybe coaches didn't think about initially, or was like, oh, well, they can do this and we can expand our offense despite, some of the things around size. Because one thing you can't coach is effort. And then with that too, can you talk about that aspect of just how you were used in that offense that allowed you to be successful and to maybe find that passion that you were missing over the past couple of years prior to switching to fullback?
Definitely. Coach Trough is one of the best NAIA coaches ever to do it. And he got plenty of awards. My first year there was his first year at Missouri Valley College. And he knew how to utilize the tools that he had. And so he used speed. He needed me to I would have to do a hook on a guy that's 7 yards outside of me, and I would have to hook him, and he would trust me to do things like that. And so what I did was I utilized my speed to hit them before they would even be able to hit me. Or if I knew they would overpower me, if I get to them before the hole even started, even if they were to push me back a little bit, the running back would be gone be gone before they were able to collapse the hole. And so shout out to Coach Trough and the scheme that they utilized. Also, my first year playing fullback, I led the conference in catches from the backfield. They really used me in that because I would be able to outrun a lot of the linebackers. And so I caught a lot of balls from the outfield where going into my second year starting, they wrote up an article on me about how I'm a weapon in the backfield and how a lot of defenses needed to look out for me, and had a big picture of me. And I was like, I didn't think I was this good, but hey, appreciate you. Let me go ahead and sniff that out. My son can see that one day when I can't run 40s anymore and I can't beat him in the race. I'll let him know, hey, I can beat you back then, no son. Yeah.
And so it's kind of one of the things too. It's like, still tell nobody we ain't got the. I appreciate the article, but like now you're gonna be looking for me.
Yes, I know. I'm like, I was over here eating. Like, right, don't tell anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
And then tell them what happened in 2006.
In 2006, when we made it super duper far. Oh yes, we were projected in our conference to finish 7th. I think out of 10 or 11 teams, we were projected to finish 7th, and we had a group of guys that were like me. They just worked hard. We all worked hard, and we trusted each other to do what they were supposed to do. And we came up like through the program. We were there, not starting under people. And it's crazy to look back on the people that weren't even starting and getting playing time, because when they and we were able to get playing time, it was like all Americans, all conference, some of the best to do it in Missouri Valley history. It was like, it's crazy, but it was a lot of humble guys and fun guys and hardworking guys. And so instead of finishing 7th in our conference, we end up being conference champions. And not only that, we went all the way to the Final Four. And it was we went down to Sioux Falls, and it was a couple questionable calls. I'll let you guys look at the film. And they end up squeaking past us because they caught a couple of our touchdowns back in the fourth quarter. And they end up squeaking past us by 5 points. And they end up winning it all. And so if the questionable calls weren't called, and it was down, we played them on their turf at their home, and it was negative 12 degrees, which they were used to. And we still, I'm a tear.
Two froze up.
A tear froze up. Yeah, and a tear. I'm holding back tears now because we did get a ring for winning conference, but it should have been a national championship ring for sure.
And for those of you who don't know, because you kind of glossed over it, y'all finished the season or the conference with what record?
We were 13-0.
Okay.
13-0. Oh, no. Conference 11-0. And then we end up, I think it was, 10-0. And then we end up going all the way up till our first loss was against Sioux Falls. We end up 13-1, our first loss.
And so with that, that was his last year. The following year, they went undefeated again. And so that, like he was saying about the talent on that team, is like to go 13-1 is hard, let alone to do it 2 years where it's like you're undefeated for the regular season. And then, that Sioux Falls team is like, if anybody knows anything about football, collegiately, if you're a fan of college football, you probably are at least familiar with how some of those North Dakota and South Dakota teams are at pretty much any level. Outside of I think when you get outside of Division I, I'd say outside of Division I, for the BCS, it's like for FCS, D2, D3, NAI, some of the most competitive teams are in North Dakota, South Dakota, and Missouri. Missouri is one of the toughest D2 states in the whole country. There's multiple schools where it's like it's going to be one of them to win national championships, which I really didn't even realize until it's like we kind of started. We went to college and it was just like, was it Missouri Western? It's like they be winning national championships like every other year, and having people go to the league. And same thing with like just some of the NAI schools. There's some guys that have gone to the league, which is hard to do, but they've done it. And some of the guys that even went to some of these NAI schools would transfer, go on to Division I, and be starting there. So it's like they get D1 talent, but it's a thing of like, the academics for some people. Other people, like they need a scholarship or they have something guaranteed. Other folks, it's kind of a thing. It's like academically, it's like they're more focused on school, but they want/need some money, so they don't want to go D3. And so like NAI, it kind of just depends on the conference and the school, how competitive it is, because they'll go play some NAI schools will sometimes play those FCS schools, and they get run up on them sometimes. Kind of fierce, they ain't careful. So,
and I like that you said that, because we had a lot of D1 athletes come to Missouri Valley College thinking they were going to start, and they would have the size and the accolades and would ride the bench. There were big fullbacks that come, and I'm like, oh man, and everybody be like, they're going to start next year, and I was like, they don't know about me. And I would outwork them, and I wasn't the only one. It would be other running backs, tight ends, and all this stuff come from these big schools and ride the bench. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And so let's segue a little bit. You are a physical education teacher. And so I'm wondering what made you decide to go into physical education, and what role does sports have in that discipline?
So definitely the teachers that I've had along my career, my educational career, had a big pull, and my coaches had a big pull in my decision to go that route. For you guys that don't know, a lot of the prisons, they make room for prisons based off of the reading scores of third grade students. And so if you were to look at my reading, how I was able to read in third grade, I am not supposed to be an accomplished teacher at all. I'm supposed to be in prison. And so I wanted to give the blueprint I first wanted to give it to little brown boys and show them how you can be successful, even though the world is set up against you with a lot of the systemic racism that is still thriving in our society today. I also, when I did my student teaching, I had the opportunity to teach a lot of students that didn't look like me. And I wanted to show them that we are not savage beasts. We are not savage. We are not beasts. We are not. Thank you. Good. We are not savage beasts. We are just like your uncles. We are just like your brothers. We are just like your fathers. I'll never forget, I had this one girl. Her name was Taylor, and Taylor's probably in college now, probably has graduated college. She was in kindergarten. We were watching a movie. She came over and sat on my lap. And I said, Taylor, you can't sit on my lap. You have to sit with the rest of the students. Simultaneously, her hand came up and started playing with my ear. And she looked back at me and she said, you're just like my dad. Your skin is just darker. And I said, I thought that's what I want. I want to show you that I am just like your dad. And I want to show these little brown boys, hey, you can be successful. And this is the blueprint. Even though you may have started and you may have struggled, I can show you how to get through all of that and still be successful. That was the big pull of why I chose to be an educator and why I still choose, even though it is a struggle, why I still choose to be an educator, because our youth needs me.
And what about specifically going to physical education?
And I'm glad you asked that also. Physical education, like I said, is more than just sports. It's more than just games. It teaches you so much in life. I tell teachers all the time, because they say, oh, you do so good with the children, and the children really respect you and they really listen to you, especially when I go into a new building. And I tell them I'm not here just for games and activities. I'm here to build character. That is the number one reason I became a physical education teacher. I teach these kids how to deal with their anger, how to deal with their frustration, how to do teamwork, how to push past their limits. And so I love that I can do that through movement, because our nation needs movement. As you see, we are one of the most obese nations. And so I want to build the love of movement, but coupled with that, because kids already love movement, I want to teach our kids how to thrive mentally, like how mental health is becoming we're focusing on mental health more as a nation. I want to give kids these tools where they can cope and they can be successful when things come up against them, when they feel certain type of ways, and they can know how to dissect different things and be successful when those things come their way.
Okay. And so with that, what are some of the biggest challenges you see, because your elementary is the population that you work with, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see when it comes to their participation or involvement in not necessarily sports, but just physical education as a whole, or more so movement and being active? What are some of the biggest challenges that you see that contribute to them not being maybe very active as they want to be, let alone need to be?
It is definitely how our society has moved to screens, and how our, I wouldn't say our parents, I'll say society pacifies students, youth, with screens. And it can be with a game screen, with a phone screen, and not just being active, going out there, because you have to give energy when they're giving energy to go to the park, to go outside. You're not just sitting down, and it's not as comfortable for you. And so with being in elementary, they still like movement. Even if we have kids that are a little overweight, or maybe even the obese level range, they still like movement. My pull is to have lessons that makes all of them successful. I remember when I very first started doing physical education, it was this one girl named Beautiful who was definitely in the morbidly obese range. And she would give her all, but she just wouldn't be successful. And I'm thinking, since she's not successful, I don't want her to lose this passion for movement. So I have to tailor my lessons where I have some activities where she's successful also. I'll never forget, if you were to see my first gym where I first started, it was tiny. It was a multi-purpose room with drywall on the walls. And the kids would put holes in the drywalls because they would go full out. And I wouldn't fault them for it. I would say, hey, that's effort right there. Going back to Beautiful, it was little square tiles on the ground, a foot by foot square tile. And I had, it was a battle. I called it tile battle or something like that, where you had to stand on two tiles, and then you had an opponent standing on two tiles going against you. You put your hands up, and then you say 1, 2, 3, go. You guys push each other's hands, and whoever stepped off of the tile first would lose. Mm-hmm. The most competitive and athletic guy made it all the way up against Beautiful. And he had the will of a million men. And he was not giving up. And Beautiful was leaning on him until he did the splits. That boy did the splits and fell off, and Beautiful won the one-on-one, the tournament of the whole class. And that was one of the first lessons that really opened my eyes to making sure all my students are excited about movement, excited about gym, excited about competing, and making it attainable to everyone in the classroom. When you make a goal attainable, that increases participation.
And so it sounds like, it was trying to make it accessible to everybody in some way. And so with that, I think one of the things that I know I focus on, at least in my work as a psychologist, or at least also I would say think about as well, and just random ways, like even if it's outside of necessarily my work, but it's like accessibility. And so wondering for you, like how, in what ways do you go about making your physical education class more acceptable to students, whether it's with physical disabilities, cognitive disabilities, whatever it may be? How do you, in your line of work, make things be more accessible for them so that they can participate? Because I know oftentimes PE is something that kids hate, because if they have, especially like any type of physical challenges or limitations, it's like, if it's not made accessible, then it's like, I can't be successful in this, because it's like, this wasn't made for me. So of course that does vary based on like the student and their challenges that they may have, and their specific disability if they do have one. But just in the past, in your work, what have you done to try to make it be more of an accessible environment for them so that they can enjoy coming to your class and participate in whatever ways that they can?
So being in education for 15 years, I've actually been for 17 years. I've been in elementary education for 15 years. I've tailored a lot of my lessons to make it attainable goals for all. And I look at it from a class by class. Like I might have a lesson plan, and with this lesson plan, with this class, they'll thrive here, but I have to tweak it with this class because of their athletic level. And I might have a student who would really not be able to attain, so I have to kind of lower and take this rule away or add this rule. That's how I make it attainable physically for them. Sometimes things are not attainable because of a mental block also. With my brother, Trey, who was able to get myself out the way by throwing confidence on me, where it sprouted and rooted, and now it just grows out of me. That's what I do with my kids now. That I feel is one of the most vital things that I can give them in order for them to be successful. Confidence, confidence, confidence. I'm their biggest cheerleader. And not only that, I tell this to all physical education teachers. So if you're looking, physical education teachers, please listen to this. Music. What do you mean music? Music allows you to not feel like everyone's eyes are on you. When you have music playing in the background, it allows you to like open up your mind, and your mind is partially here and there and not thinking everyone's looking at me. I do hip hop instrumentals. You're safe there. You don't have to worry about words. It's a nice beat in the background. Once that music gets going, that's how I cue my kids. As soon as I play the music, they know game on. It's ready, set, and go. So changing the rules helps with athletic, with their physical limitations, getting those out the way. Being a cheerleader, because you have to catch as soon as it happens. Soon as they do it, that's what I'm talking about, Kaylee. Kaylee gets MVP today. I have an award that goes out at the end of class. It's called a Beast Mode Award. And I print out, I make it every year, and I change it up every year. I have a girl and a boy, and then they can pick whichever one they want. And then sometimes it's just like a beast. And so it's not really saying like, you have to pick this one or that one. And at the end of class, I love how Kaylee did this today. Kaylee, today you get the Beast Mode Award. and it goes to you. They can take it home, they can color it, they can keep it. If they do bring it back, we put it on the wall. And at the end of the year, the whole gym is covered all the way around in beast modes where they can see their hard work. And so, yeah, I have that where they can come and see where they did good. And, hey, music.
So it sounds like the main thing first and foremost is just getting them to enjoy the atmosphere in and of itself. So like music and whatnot, where it's like, they got to dance, do whatever, and just enjoy being there. Then the other part is like modifying the rules so that they're able to participate, kind of level the playing field in some way. Whether it's because of athleticism or maybe like a disability in some way, if they're still able to participate in physical education. And then of course, cheerleading them. Cause I think that's one thing is like, one of the examples I use, when I work with people, especially in terms of like sports psych, is like, you think about little kids, it's like they're thinking about doing something wrong, in T-ball, like they miss it a couple times and they start crying and everything. And it's like, they don't want to try again. And it's like, you got to encourage them to get over that. And it's like, that helps them build some self-confidence, but also self-efficacy. So like, I have the tools to be successful and I know how to use the tools for this particular task to be successful. And so it's like, but if they're not willing to try and risk failure, it's like, you can't be successful. And so it's like helping them to say, you know what, let me give max effort and I can go from there with, no, I tried as hard as I could versus, I gave up on myself and so on. And so, because I think that's one of the things that I work with college students. And so one of the things that comes up for me is like, students will come to college, they'll struggle maybe for the first time, and they're not sure why that may be. Sometimes it's just because of their major and they don't realize like, engineers don't really be graduating with no 3.0. And it's like, you always had a 4.0 in high school and, elementary school and all that other stuff. And it's like, I've told students, go to an engineering convention and ask them ask around like what their GPA was when they graduated. And they usually come back, they're like, well, when I ask that, usually people just start laughing and they'll be like, I had like maybe a 2.5, if that. And they were kind of shocked by that because it's like, they're like, it's a hard degree, but it's a degree that you are getting a specific job in. And so it's like, you're not going to have, 3.0, 3.5. And, the GPA doesn't mean as much as what it does for some other fields. Bio majors, when they take organic chemistry, they coming in bawling and crying and everything else. And it's like, every university I've been at, organic chemistry for some reason is unnecessarily difficult. And it's like, there's a curve, but I've had so many students, they never had anything less than an A before, and they take organic chem, and it's just like, I don't know if I can graduate because of that. And I'm just like, yo, you're not the only one. You'll be all right, chill. And so now you recently had your first child. How, as a parent, are you planning on having sports be law in life? You hear the different stories from like the LeVar Balls to, the parents that just kind of don't really care, the ones that are like, fighting in the stands at youth sport events. What type of sport parent are you going to be, and how are you planning to have your son participate in sports? Or if you'll have him participate in sports?
Let's start at the beginning. It was this fine woman walking down the hall. I'm over in my classroom teaching. Well, I was in between classes. And then I turn around, this fine woman walks up to me and says, Mr. Loveless, I have to observe you for a week. I said, you could observe me for the rest of your life. In my mind, I didn't tell her that I didn't want to be a creeper. Fast forward a couple years later, we're dating. Fast forward a couple years later, we're married. Oh, rewind a little bit. When we were dating, I saw her play volleyball. She was a 2 college athlete. She did track and volleyball in college. Her footwork, I don't know if I want to say this and be recorded on this, is better than mine. Her feet are crazy. I said in my mind, and I said to my coworker at the time, if we get married, we gonna breed some athletic beasts. Fast forward all the way to baby Knox, that's my son's name, being born. If he chooses sports, he is going to be a monster. 5'9" and some change, 5'10". My dad is 6'5". with my athleticism, Kaisha's athleticism, if he chooses sports, I am going to be the coach of the year. When I go to like my, I remember I went to my nephew's sporting event, Gavin. He is now in college now. And when I went to his sporting event, basketball, I drove him there. The coach was nowhere to be found. I'm over here waiting. The other team is warming up. I'm like, where's the coach? Where's the coach? I'm the coach. I stepped in after the game. Parents were coming up to me like, are you the new coach? You did amazing. I said, I came to watch like you guys did. There was no coach. I stepped in and they was like, will you please be the coach? I choose not to coach now because I do it all day. But after work, I'm a parent all day. Whatever Knox chooses to do, I'm going to do it all day. So if he needs a coach, I'm going to be the coach. I hope he chooses sports because he has it in him. Also, his mom is really, really smart. She got like all honors, national honors society. I picked a good one, y'all. She's smart and athletic. Me, I'm athletic and hardworking, which gave me the grades. So if Knox picks just the academic path, I'm okay with that. Son, please pick athletics too. Please do. If he chooses to do athletics, he is going to be a blessed individual with the talents that God has poured in him. And yeah, that's what I hope he does. I hope, even though I play football, with all the things going on with football, I hope he doesn't do football. I hope he chooses wrestling. I'm going to push him the wrestling route and whatever else he wants to do.
I mean, wrestling, you got to be careful because they be getting all that backatoria on them.
Oh, I'm cool with that.
They'll be in there with the stabs infection, and they all know the backatoria on the mats and stuff.
Oh, yeah. The way me and my wife roll, he'll be clean. As soon as he comes in, he'll be all right. Yeah.
And then, so are you planning on putting him into any sports early on just to like introduce him?
Definitely. And that's what I tell all of my parents. You have to introduce and reintroduce. That's what a lot of parents don't understand. He did soccer. He didn't like it. Reintroduce him later. I was introduced to football when I was meek and mild. A beast was born through my brother. I came back around to football. I didn't even tell this story. Freshman year. So freshman year in high school, I came, I already tried football. I didn't like it. Freshman year, I came around. I just came to school the first day. I had no idea that all my boys were practicing 2 weeks before school started, football. I tried to get on the team. It was too late. I only wanted to be on the team to kick it with my boys. So I didn't get to be on the team for my freshman year. And I went and talked to coach, and he was like, you can't do it. I'm sorry. It's too late. Other people asked to do it. They went through 2 days. You can't just come after 2 days and be on the team. I said, can I be the equipment manager? He said, yes. I was the water boy. My first year in high school, I did not play football. I was giving everybody water. Mind you, during conditioning, though, I was dusting most of everybody. I was dusting. I was like, I'm going to run conditioning with y'all. So the coaches were looking at me, and they were like, oh, he's going to be good one day. But I didn't play my whole freshman year. Sophomore year, I came and I destroyed. I ended up making varsity my sophomore year. Didn't get a lot of time playing varsity, but I made varsity and I got a little time on special teams.
He was all right. No, yeah, not going to lie. Best athlete not on the team. Had he been on the team, he would have been one of the best athletes, if not the best athlete. I think our coach was kind of mad. Was like, yeah, we got one of the best athletes and he's not on the team right now. And it's like, it's too late now. But they almost gave him a chance to play towards the end of the season, but he was like, nah, it's cool. I don't want to take nobody's playing time. And so when you think about kind of just, again, segueing back a little bit, when you think about I think sport participation, especially for youth, like what comes up for you? Because I know I've read the Lee Hirsch on it just with my background in sports psych. The observations I have, it seems like this day and age, so many people are focused on organized youth sport versus kids, not even versus, but just like kids playing and just letting them go out there with like a ball, a bat, whatever. It don't matter. They have a football and a wiffle ball bat. they'll figure something out. But the emphasis seems to be on, let me get my kid in this organized sport. Let me spend all this money on this organized sport, thinking that they're going to be something that maybe they will be or have the opportunity to be. However, they don't because they don't like it for different reasons and whatnot. But everybody's like, organized sport. And it's like, well, what happened to just play? And so what are your thoughts around that as a physical education teacher?
I definitely think playing is more important. I definitely feel the sway in our culture. I like how we're looking at movement, and we're saying movement is important. So a lot of my kids are in more organized sports. I feel like that's good that we're focusing on movement. I don't feel like we need to focus on my kid is going to be the next Michael Jordan. I fool all the time and say my kid going to the league. If he does, he does. If he doesn't, I'm just as good if he doesn't. When you go look at Dwayne Wade, he just retired. He's a young man. I don't even know if he's 40 yet. I think he maybe is 40 because he came with LeBron and LeBron turns 40 this year. I'm not sure. And he has all of his life. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's one of the best basketball players ever. And he has all of the rest of his life to live. So when you talk about what's important when youth come into sport, it's those character building aspects. So you need to find somewhere where you have a good coach. Coach Frankenfield, shout out to you. He used to teach us lessons before we would play volleyball about being good men, about being good brothers, being good everything. It wasn't just, I want to win. When you have a coach that say, oh, I want to win, and that's all and they're cussing your kid out and all that stuff. You don't want your kid to be exposed to that. You need to get a coach that is investing in the beautiful gift that you have in a son or daughter. I'm glad I said daughter too, because our girls need to be exposed to sports also because it can teach them so much. So definitely look out. Mind you, baby Knox is 4 months on Thursday. So shout out to me because I'm going to be a coach soon. You want a coach that's going to teach your kids and bring out the best. I want to bring out the best. That's my goal as an educator. I want to bring out the best that they have. And that's what us coaches should be focused on. Winning is not the main goal. Winning is a byproduct of pulling out the best in a positive way.
And I think that touches on something that is, for me, one of my soapbox things, and I know you and I have talked about this. I think, we go at the youth level, it's like building self-efficacy, building confidence is the most important thing, and building skills, and also just enjoyment and love for it. So when people out here taking it way too serious and putting all this pressure on these kids, it's like, that ain't cool. That's not healthy. It's like, and then with that, it's like, are they being exposed to just having an opportunity to just play? Because I look at it like, if you got to yell and scream, especially at little kids, to get them to perform well, that means you have poor communication.
Yes.
And also you are a very good coach because you don't know how to push somebody as well as explain things in a multitude of ways for them to understand. Because, some people you can say in one way, it'll click. Other people it won't. Some people you got to demo things. And so do you have multiple tools as a coach to help people understand what it is that you want and need them to do? And with that, some people still may have challenges. So, one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot in sports is the role that learning disabilities can play. And so maybe it takes them longer to get certain concepts. Can you still coach the best out of them and use them effectively, put them in situations where it's like, you know what, you do this really, really well. We're going to have you run these 2 or 3 plays. And then eventually, like, once you kind of master those, we can start adding in more. And it's like, your repertoire is building, but I'm not going to just yell and scream at you because you don't know the whole playbook. It's, all right, cool, you're struggling with that. I don't need you to learn the whole playbook. I need you to do these things well and also know, hey, there are certain situations. I just need an athlete on the field. Just go out there, tackle anything that moves. Cool. Everybody else on the assignment, basically, you just out there doing what you got to do and go with that. And so I think when we have coaches out here talking to kids any kind of way that makes them move away from sport and leads to like burnout. And I think that's one of the reasons why, if you look at college sports today with this whole transfer portal thing, it's kind of like, student athletes are like, well, other than the NIL part of it, it's if you yelling and screaming at any type of way, well, why should I deal with that? Let me just go ahead and go here with this team that can win, and I can get my ring, do whatever, or let me go to this environment where I can just stand out and be a star and not have to deal with somebody talking to me any kind of way and whatnot. Because it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, why are you harassing me? It's like, if it was any other setting, this would not be allowed. Like, it will be something for HR to step in about. It'll be a lawsuit. It might be illegal in some ways. And it's like, we allow a lot of abuse, I think, to occur. And quite frankly, in some of these instances, like literally it is. If it was probably other contexts, people would make a mandated report when it comes to the youth. But it's like, why talk to these kids that way? If yelling, it's like, and I think there's a thing, it's like, okay, what is the purpose of your yelling, like, and what are you saying with that to motivate? Because a lot of it's really just honestly humiliating and demotivating. And so kids are trying to be successful in spite of you, right? Versus, man, I disappointed my coach with my effort or with whatever, and I don't like that because I love, playing for my coach. So now I'm going to do whatever I can and like run through a wall for this person. That's why I try to tell. I've even told this college coach, if a kid believes that you believe in them, they'll run through a freaking wall.
Yes.
Plain and simple.
Yes.
But if they don't think you respect them as a human being, it's just a matter of time where they say, you know what, I ain't doing this no more. And so I think with that, like, we can still be, was it, I think, hard or stern in some way. Mm-hmm. But what we mean by that is like, we're being assertive, right? We have expectations that need to be followed. If you don't follow them, there will be consequences, right? But we're not doing that in a way that's meant to disrespect you or humiliate you.
Yes.
This is the expectation. Did you meet it? Okay, cool. You got to be held accountable for that. Now, what does that look like? Test a line, or maybe not playing a certain amount of time, or you'll play, but you're not starting. It's like you only get to play the first play of the game. You play the rest of that. There's a multitude of ways, but I think if you just look at it, like, if we don't kind of do something about it now, especially with NIL, there's going to be more pressure on kids, and we'll probably see them start to kind of burn out a sport a lot sooner.
I definitely think teaching towards the learning intelligences, where you're focused on, maybe someone can just hear it auditory and they can pick up perfectly. Maybe someone needs to see it visually. Maybe someone needs both, and they need to see themselves like in a film session. Maybe someone needs to write it out. We need to find out how kids learn the best, and then we need to try to teach them that way. Also, one of the best way to teach a kid is establish a relationship with them. If you establish a relationship with a kid, like you said, they will run through a wall for you. If they know you have their best interests at heart, they know that you genuinely care about their well-being, they will listen to everything you say. And please don't take advantage of this. They will listen to everything you say, and you will be able to mold them into the best player they can be.
As individuals, we have identities, and we step into multiple roles, whether it be professional or certain aspects of life. And so, how did sport shape your identity as an individual?
Dope question. Like I said, I was a little meek, very to myself boy that didn't have a lot of confidence. And when I got into sports, I saw another side of me that I didn't even know existed. It unlocked a piece of me. It built confidence in me, and it allowed me to be comfortable with myself. And so my identity now, I'll never forget, in college, it was these dudes coming into college that looked like they were on the magazine cover of Men's Health. They looked like superheroes, colored, like, it was crazy. They looked like the Avengers. And I remember it was one time we were doing conditioning for something that somebody did wrong or we all did wrong. And we ran until I was like, if they make us run one more, they are crazy. And that was at 30 minutes of running. And then we ran until it was like 40 minutes of running. And then I saw these Avengers puking and falling out in front of me. And I would jump over them to keep running. And in that point, I was like, I have the work ethic and I can push myself to be better than someone that I thought was way better than me. And so when I come into a room, I don't care what the task is. I don't care how good everyone else is. Sports told me and made me believe that if I work hard, I can be better than anyone in the room. That's a huge part of what sports has told me about myself.
And so with that, especially when it comes to like organized sport, it can be a part of our identity of like, I'm a football player, I'm a soccer player, I'm a, cheerleader, whatever it may be, I'm a gymnast. But when it's a salient part of our life, especially in organized, and we go to like college, that can help us have more time with it. But then when we stop playing in college, like that, a lot of people struggle with that. And so for you, I'm wondering what helped you transition out of college sport, and especially in terms of your identity?
That was something I definitely struggled with, and I see it happen with athletes all the time. I remember my last college game, Sioux Falls, and I was walking off the field, and I was like, I wasn't big crying after games. I had boys cry after every loss, and I was like, I got volleyball season after this. But I did have a passion for football. And my very last game, a tear came from my eye. And I was like, what do I do next? And then I was like, I guess I'm going to teach. And so the transition from being the best athlete I can be to unlocking these gifts that a lot of parents don't even know their kids have. I go up against a lot of stuff said to students and I have to tell them, what your mom said is wrong. I told this little boy yesterday, his mom told him he has anger issues. And he told his teacher, I do this because I have anger issues. And he was doing it all day. When he came to my room, I said, you're going to sit right by me. You're not going to play. He said, why not? I said, because you told Ms. Horn you have anger issues. And if you have anger issues, you can't play in here. It's not safe for you, and it's not safe for the other students. I won't do it here. I just do that. I say, so you have control over it. If you have control over your anger, it's not an issue. Say this to me. I don't have anger issues. He looked at me and said, I don't have anger issues. I said, perfect. Now you can play. That is what bridged me from being an athlete to being a professional, because I wanted to unlock these things that a lot of people don't even know. A lot of parents are putting these stigmas and these false titles on kids. And my job is to rip those false titles away and to instill the confidence.
When you think about your transition into college, how did football make that transition easier academically and socially?
Going into college, playing football, I already had, it took less than a week to have a friend group. When you have a friend group and you guys have the same goal, you have someone that's helping you reach your goals, and you guys are trying to attain the same outcome. So socially, it was very easy making that transition from high school to college, not knowing anyone, and having these goals that I set for myself, and then having these guys. And it was some people on the team that I didn't really vibe with but it's so many of us that I found my village, and then I'm still cool with them today. Yeah.
Okay. And then, a lot of people want to play sports in college and whatnot. What do you think what would you tell a person who wants to play in college that they should consider in making their decision of like where they go to school and whatnot? What are some things you think is important for them to take into account and just think about so they can make the best decision for themselves?
Know that your career athletically is not that long. Even if you do make it to the pros, a lot of people that make it to the NBA don't stay there a long time. You got drafted and you don't stay there a long time. When you look at like Carmelo Anthony or LeBron James, those are freaks of nature and they just had it. Things went their way. Tom Brady, he landed in the right system and had a great career. But you have like, what's his name? Vince Young, great college career. He's supposed to be playing now today. He was not in the league that long. Reggie Bush, one of the best athletes to ever come through college. He definitely didn't have the career that everyone thought he was going to have.
Tim
Tebow also. So when you're looking at a college, look at it as how can this help my future ultimately? If you are if you're going to be an engineer, you need to probably go to the best engineer college. If you're going to be a teacher, go to the best teacher college. And then have that, or you don't have to go to the very best. If you're an athlete too, you need to kind of find a good medium where they have a good program and they can further me in my ventures as far as being an athlete, but also you need to be focused on who can push me academically and set me up well.
And so with that, because, you know, when you think about socially, there was much to be desired when we went to Mobile. It's a lot different now in terms of a campus and everything. But like you said, it was in kind of the middle of nowhere of Missouri. The kind of the thing is like there's more cows than people in the outskirts of it. But how did football help you with that isolation that did exist out there, Marshall? Because I'll put it like this. The most popping spot when we went there was Sonic. Sonic on a Friday night. It was something else. It was something else. But how did it help you with that?
I loved it because I'm a focused individual, and I'm glad God made me that way. I know a lot of guys could not. So people were there a week and gone. I'm like, where did Demetrius go? Oh, he went back home. I was like, what? He just came here. But having those limited distractions, and some people know they need to have limited distractions because they will get distracted very easily. But it allowed me to focus on my grades. Like I said, I had a better GPA coming out of college than I did high school because it was less distractions. And it allowed me to focus on my craft also. I was working out. I was getting faster, stronger. You know, I was able to build lifelong relationships. We were already cool then, but I feel like going to college made us stronger with the memories that we have had in college. My goodness, even when you transferred, you know, making those road trips. So it definitely allowed me to really focus and invest in those different places of my life that really needed me at that time, rather than waste a lot of my time on things that would not be fruitful.
Okay. And then with that, what would you tell a current college student athlete that they need to kind of maybe start to consider as a, you know, if they're like their junior year or senior year, what would you tell them to take into account to help them transition out of their sport?
Man, I would help them transition out of their sport. It's going to be hard. So you need to anticipate experiencing an unknown, because you're not going to know how it feels until it happens. But if you have room to know, like, this is going to be something that I've never experienced and I need to move on from that, it'll give you a little assistance in making that transition. Another thing I would tell them to do, because I feel like if you kind of know the other side a little better, it will help you. Do some shadowing of whatever career you're going into. Go and really get a good understanding of how the day-to-day is going to be. I feel like that would help you in making that transition into knowing what you're transitioning into. Also, knowing if you really want to do it. Because even though you have a degree in this, just because you have a college degree, if you find out you really don't want to do it, that degree will open up. It still opens up doors to do other things. And you might be able to get an internship before the bills add up. Because sometimes people get into their profession and they establish these bills and then they're stuck there and they don't love it. But if you get into your, if you realize, oh, I really don't want to do this, and then you start shadowing other things, and it's like, I didn't even know I wanted to do this, it will help with the transition, and you will actually look forward to going to work and going into the next step of life.
I think with that, sports is something, especially playing in college, it can open a lot of opportunities. I remember when I moved to California for my doctorate, and I was looking for jobs, and I did like this kind of like online recruiting thing where you put something. And I remember getting a call for somebody, and the main reason they called me was because I had put that on there that, I was Missouri Valley football. I think I put that, or maybe I put Missouri Valley College, and they got a call, and they were like, oh, yeah, I saw that you went to Missouri Valley. They're like, Mike Loveless? I'm like, yeah. And it was like, he's like, I went there too and everything. So we started having that, but it's like a random call, and it's like sports just provides an opportunity of connections. Like, people really do look at resumes and be like, oh, they were an athlete, and take that into account, especially if they were an athlete too, because, it can be a small world at times of people knowing about other people, or just a way of like having a conversation and connecting authentically. Is like, what was your experience? Oh, this was my experience. So it was like, I love that. Or sometimes people are just curious and infatuated with like, oh, you did this. What was that like? Like I said, my college career was not what I wanted to be. And I have a whole bunch of memories and hilarious stories that just I bond with. Even things where it's like people that I played with, where it's just like, we laugh about because they were like, yeah, we didn't think you were gonna make it back, bro, because that first day was rough for you. Like, it's just hilarious to laugh about. But with that, people can see that you had a passion for it. Like, it was something you could bond over. It just created a lot of opportunity. And so, I definitely appreciate you coming on and doing this, having us in your home. But I think, we touched on a lot of things that I think hopefully people can resonate with and just find some meaning and value in, to know that if they decide to play in college, hey, this is how it can help me. If they are playing, this can help them make a decision about like, do I transfer? Do I quit? Maybe it's like, maybe you don't do either one. Maybe you switch positions and play something that you were just innately more passionate about. And then from there, it's like, will that transition out of it? I think you touched on a lot of things that talk about like how it can help you transition into your career and put some passion in that, to think, hey, I've been competitive my whole life and know how to work hard. Now I can put that into my career goals and strive and be successful there. And so definitely appreciate you coming on and doing that. And so, and so, yeah, just thank you, Dal.
Oh, yeah, anytime. You already know. Yeah, always, sir.